Mitzie Hunter is promising to build thousands of affordable shared equity housing units if she is elected mayor. Now, she joins us live this afternoon to explain that and her overall 5-point housing plan. Mitzie, good afternoon. Great to see you.
It's great to be here.
So, yeah, let's just jump right in. Tell us more about this 5-point plan of yours.
Yeah, well, at the centerpiece of my policies is the Toronto Affordable Housing Corporation, which is going to make sure that we build more houses more quickly in our city so that we have a city that works for everyone everywhere. We need more housing everywhere I go across the city. Young people are telling me they can't afford to live here, and this is at a crisis in Toronto, and we've got to build more.
Now, obviously, this is something that's going to take time, but what do you think is imperative to begin immediately if you were elected mayor?
On day one, I would proclaim that there's no more surplus land at the city level, that the priority and the focus is going to be unlocking those public lands for building housing that is affordable, average market rent and below for families, 2- and 3-bedroom units, making sure that people can live in our city as well as work here and raise their family here.
You know, when it comes to the housing, you talk to a lot of young people. What are you hearing from people as you are on this campaign trail? You know, we're weeks away from people taking to the polls. What's the consensus that you're hearing from people when it comes to housing and the state of it here in the city?
Yeah, the real risk is that we're losing talent, that they actually don't see themselves being able to have a place of their own. There's young people that can't afford to move out of their parents' home, even after they've graduated and started working. And, you know, it wasn't always like that, and we've kind of lost that in Toronto. So I want to make sure that the city is building, that we're providing public housing that is affordable, deeply affordable, and also home ownership too. That is part of it. 6,100 of the units that I will be offering will be home ownership units as well at a discounted rate.
When it comes to other topics and other things that you have heard on the campaign trail, what else is a top priority that you want to make sure that people who are looking and keeping a close eye on this know that you stand for and that you will represent if elected mayor?
So I'm running, everyone knows I'm from Scarborough. I know what it's like to be on that outside. I want to bring the outside into City Hall. I'm running to have a city that works for everyone, everywhere, and to lead Toronto's revival. That includes fixing transit as well, so making sure that we have good access to public transit, people can get around our city. I'm investing in the North York Scarborough subway extension. I'm stopping that death spiral on this TTC by lowering the fares and increasing the service levels, reversing those service cuts, and making it free for seniors to ride on transit as well as Wheel-Trans users. Very important side of our city, making sure we have a connected city and that everyone in our city really feels that they belong in the six and that this is their city, and a mayor that represents them as well.
When it comes to city planners, that's something that you also have in mind, right? Hiring more of them and being able to expedite development application reviews as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 5-point plan includes unlocking public lands for more affordable housing, making sure that we advance the construction process and making it simpler as well, protecting renters. There's 52% of the people in our city rent. I'll have an advocate at City Hall for renters so that they get a fair chance, tripling the rent bank, making sure that, if people fall into hard times, that they have a place to go so they don't lose their housing. I want to also protect the affordable housing stock that we have in our city and so that we retain that stock and we don't lose it. I support the multiplex as well, making sure we fill in that missing middle. I also want to see 8 stories on major streets. We have 1,200 kilometers of major streets in our city. We could be spreading that density instead of, some candidates saying we're going to have 500 units in one spot in our city, 40 stories like that. People don't want that in their neighborhoods. We want to have gentle density.
Mitzie, I do want to ask you, when it comes to polls, because I'm sure you're keeping your pulse on certain things, and where you see yourself, according to some of these polls, of course this is not fact, but it's an indicator. What's your take on that? Where you find yourself, as of course we know that according to some of them, you have Olivia Chow and some other frontrunners ahead of you. How does that make you feel leading up to the big day?
I feel great. It's 45 days till Election Day. We know the race is now set. I'm very well positioned, and I actually have momentum. And I like where I am in the polls because I'm ticking up. And that's the direction that you need come Election Day on June 26th. What we need is people to get interested in this campaign. You know, check out my website, mitzieformayor.ca. My plan is the most comprehensive plan on building affordable housing than any other candidate in the race. So really look at what the candidates are saying and how they will lead. On day one, I have provincial experience. I have senior cabinet level experience. I've been a chief administrative officer, a CEO. On day one, I will make sure that we have a city that works for everyone, everywhere, starting with priorities like building more housing.
Okay, Mitzie Hunter, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.